Hi everybody, I'm Reverend Terri and I use she, her pronouns. My heart is broken with yours today as we witnessed unquestionable terrorism and now the war between Israel and Hamas, the death of so many innocents in the midst of violence. And it reminds me how important it is to love and respect our neighbors and how hard that can be when pain leads the way. As much as we might be focused on what's happening today, it really can't be taken out of context of a history, a heritage, a system of conflict, passed down generation to generation, a trio of religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, all who claim a common ancestor and a common holy site, with periods of extremists from one or another background who refuse to see their neighbor as equal human beings and then use horrific means to assert their version of the story. And I'm oversimplifying this, of course. I don't know all the nuances, but my point is that the root of struggle, of this struggle, is very old structures and many chapters. And as much as there are efforts to make lasting peace, changing old patterns is very hard when pain is ingrained so deeply, and especially when some still see benefit from war, often for reasons that have much less to do with any kind of faith. And I want to acknowledge that today, and let's just pause and take a couple of deep breaths and resolve to be the peace that the world needs. This quote John read for us today by Isabel Wilkerson, this idea of our country being like an old house that needs ongoing renovation. I actually think that that's what every country, every business, for profit or not, every center of community connection like churches, mosques, and synagogues, every family is actually like. These are all structures, systems that need or will need care, maintenance, and renovation if we wish to continue being healthy. Especially if we want our structure to grow. We have to get things in order. Are you with me? Yeah. All of us have a history and a heritage, for better or worse, and usually both. I was thinking about, is this mic working good? I was thinking about Saturday night's eclipse and how in ancient times the religious authorities said that God did that because God was displeased and sacrificed a virgin. It was probably really hard the first time they didn't do that. Frightened. But hey, it was a really bad system, and I'm glad they figured it out. And I was thinking about this sermon. I was thinking about the show I really love to watch. It's called Barnwood Builders. Has anybody seen Barnwood Builders? Yeah. A couple people. Okay, that's good. Well, I'll tell you, it's a group of people who go to very old barns, and then they renovate or restructure or salvage ancient beams and ancient woods from hand-hewn structures. Sometimes they don't even have wooden pegs. Often they do. And so they take the pieces that can be retained and they make new things from them. It's a testimony to a heritage of hard work and determination that they want to preserve, just as this is. Meanwhile, there are other owners who buy the property and just tear the barn down and take it to the dump, thinking nothing is worth the time or effort or cost to save. Now, I'm not judging here. I have not seen the barn. What I do know is this. Structures who are allowed to age without intervention, they fall down eventually. I think John was just talking about that. Restorers also treasure original stained glass windows that are found in old structures. Sometimes there are bullet holes in those windows, and a long debate about whether the window should be left or repaired. Now, Now, if an old famous gunslinger fired the bullet through the windows are probably staying because they have an important story. If not, the window is often restored. You know, I know that there's a discussion about your own stained glass window with the face of Jesus now obscured, and if it belongs here anymore. It's a hard question about what parts of heritage to let go, and which parts to retain, and why. The new chalice, a nod to our UUSM heritage, is so full of good. This sanctuary, the team, they did awesome work, retaining some of the original beauty and gravitas, yet bringing it up to date. Renovation and restoration. And what about that organ? Now, you may not know, but I got to see behind the walls, and there are some original wooden pipes in that instrument. It's phenomenal. The truth is, we are always making a new thing. That's the way of life. None of us could ever return to exactly what was. Time passes, conditions, perceptions, even proclamations of science change over time. Restoration or renovation helps us keep structures healthy. It's a part of addressing old wounds if scars remain. It's addressing things that hold ourselves or others back. It's acknowledging that our past does inform our future, celebrating what has been, but realizing we can never really go back. Some of you, I know, are moaning under your breath, or maybe even out loud, about being asked to come along on a journey of remembering UUSM history as a part of this transition process. I heard you. I want to tell you, it's not actually about looking back to look back. It's about looking back to look forward. It's about a journey toward being as healthy as you can be so you can grow. We need to examine what we've done before, what worked and what didn't, where there might be old wounds. We might need to address old systems or practices that might hold us back from what we could be, and if we don't, well, I'll tell you what it's like. It's like failing to fix a frayed cord in the wall before putting up the drywall and painting. Saying to ourselves, it's not that bad. It's been there forever and it's never been a problem. The truth is, even if we think something needs to change, it is hard work. In order to do a new thing or go a new way, stuff has to be undone to make room, and this is true even if the change is for the better. Plus, getting in a new rhythm is never an easy thing. So, systems often ignore issues until they're too expensive to ignore anymore. Systems work to maintain a system of what already is because it's easier. However, we now have a choice, a gift, to choose the work of restoration and renewal. And if we're willing, there are rewards. You see, when an old barn is preserved, or an old church like this one, you can bet it's not quite the same as it is. Renovation is not only restoration. 99% of the time, the plumbing gets installed and a new fancy indoor bathroom goes in. And the spaces between the logs where the mice have crawled in, that gets sealed up. It's hard work, but it's only beautifully accomplished when love and passion is real. When each of us, like tradespersons, bring our best skills and work to it. When we are willing. Now, I believe your love is real. I've met some of you. I believe you want to grow. And so I've agreed to be a part of you with a deep intention to honor your trust and your welcome. And I'm here to help add my 2 cents to pave the way to whatever you decide you want your community to look like. After we live patiently and mindfully and for a time that might seem longer than you want, in this liminal space, the space between what is and what could be, the time that the UEA calls transition. So, thanks for inviting me. Now, I myself have a heritage you may have heard about, Christianity, and it makes some of you nervous. So thanks for admitting that out loud, and the number of you have. Because that is the only way to work through it. Some of you heard Jack's podcast with me, so perhaps you're feeling a little less nervous now. Let me say that many of you, like me, have been wounded by at least one branch of Christianity that shouts of hell and exclusion. That, of course, was part of the reason universalism formed, to leave that idea behind. I was born into fundamentalism, a system of faith that has almost no wiggle room at all for any kind of disagreement. When I came out, I would learn there was no room for me. And then, shock of all shocks, when the rumor came that I had become a minister, a woman? Nearly blasphemy. And now I've joined you, and I'm glad I cannot listen in at ladies' tea. Anyway, I'm a big proponent of Jesus before his death. And the stories often ignored, especially the details of the stories that tell us to love our neighbors and how to love our neighbors as ourselves, and the stranger, and even the enemy. That's plenty of work to do, in my opinion. And today I can see that Jesus was a martyr for speaking truth to power in his own time. And I can see that the harshest words of Jesus were always reserved, even some swear words, for those who insisted on the rule of law over the rule of love. And I can see that at UUSM and in many communities and nonprofits, they are all in the business of that kind of love. So in my mind, we're on the same team, and I hope you'll see it the same way. So I'm really glad to be with you here over the next 9 months, or perhaps longer. Tovis and I are in team ministry. While Tovis tends to pastoral care and worship, I am tending to other, mainly operational tasks of community, and I hope to be a part of your discernment and preparation for your next chapter. I use your because my tenure here is temporary. I am not called to another long-term pastorate anywhere. The great thing is it frees me up to work beside you without some ulterior motive to keep my job. Indeed, my intention is, when our work is over, to give it gladly back. Right now, I'm still looking through the windows of this precious place. Do you know that windows absolutely look different from the inside than they do from the outside? Those living inside the house, well, they see the windows every single day, and it's like the grime builds up piece by piece by piece, but no one really sees it. In fact, most of us don't realize our windows need cleaning until it arrives as a kind of shock. How do those windows get so dirty? Meanwhile, people walking by have been seeing the dirty windows for quite some time from a different perspective. My gift to you is to bring an outsider perspective to this place, to your operations, to your systems. And eventually, I hope you'll allow me to be part of the work with Tovis, the trustees, and all of us to discern what changes, big and small, might be healthy in this transition time. And that might include tending some things hidden behind walls that I can't see but you might know about. No shame required here. Visiting the doctor for a wellness checkup, it's maintenance, it's renovation, it's restoration. It's good, hard, honest work. It needs to be honest if it's going to work. But we've always done it this way, even if we haven't. That too is a heritage. What truly works, what doesn't anymore. I understand that sometimes there are imperfections that we treasure, or not. And those discussions can be hard ones. What might we adjust in unity with your values to be more effective in living out the principles you use claim? To be really good stewards of our resources, of the gifts we share with one another, our time, our talent, our treasure. There are covenants to help guide our work, and if we're mindful, we can love each other through. We have good tools. So when we rebuild an old house or a sanctuary, a system of doing things, when we examine our inner selves, we have to decide what should be preserved and what needs to be updated in light of now. As we live in this period of transition, and we're always in transition, but this particular time of preparing for settled leadership, a pastor or pastors in your future, what needs to be reviewed and updated, and what's too sacred to touch. In the next month, I'm intentionally listening deeply to this community about your thoughts. What do you love? What could use some renovation? Don't tell me after worship, there's too many of you, and Eileen does not take messages, just saying. But do write me an email or make an appointment to chat. Help me see with you so that we can do this work together, so we can walk together. And your coffee hour assignment, and I'll often give one, which you can reject or embrace, is share with at least one person what principle, value, or covenant speaks most directly to this time of transition. Or if you like more risky questions, what part of you is under renovation right now?